All right, hello and welcome to the AI First Show. This is the show where we talk about all things AI, about industry news, how to get things done with AI. I am Stephen Barr from Trilogy AI Center of Excellence. Is my colleague Leonardo Gonzalez. Starting out this episode a little bit frustrated. We had a SAS technical difficulty this morning, so we'll see how this goes. Leonardo, how are you doing? Yeah, exactly. There has been some crazy AI news this week. We have a lot of articles to cover, and we're an hour behind because of this. So we'll go fairly quickly, check out all the different articles. And again, before we jump into it, I want to ask everyone to subscribe to our Discord and our Substack. On our Substack, you can comment on the stories that we write, and on our Discord, you can ask us to cover future stories. So make sure you join those. We are always there, always monitoring that. Let's have a look at the first story that we're going to put on here, which is GLM 5.2. And we're getting into, I think, the big story, which is going to be the whole Fable Mythos saga. Let's start with GLM 5.2. Okay, this is the official announcement from Z.ai, GLM 5.2, built for long horizon tasks. So this, I think, came out to a pretty good reception. I've been using it since it came out. I use it via fireworks.ai. How's your experience been with GLM 5.2 so far?
Very interesting. And the timing is very interesting. I don't think it's an accident that there was a deluge of models all released at the same time. They kind of fight for attention. So we had Minimax M3, and we had Kimi K 2.7 code, and we had GLM 5.2, and we had Fable, all within a few days of each other. And what was really interesting about GLM 5.2 was its capabilities, like its power. Million token context is amazing, and its performance, according to benchmarks and according to many people that have tried it with their real world workflows, beats Opus 4.7 and is near Opus 4.8. This is big in terms of its implications. It's also interesting given the ecosystem that's happening, and we'll get into that when we talk about Fable and kind of supply chain and diversity of providers, but also where ZPU is going in the future. Somebody asked, how long is it going to take ZPU to come up with a Fable class model? And Elon Musk answered, probably, by Q1. And the head of ZPU said, probably won't take that long. So they're on this trajectory to, come up with like really, really frontier capabilities, like not just, pretty good for an open model, but hey, this thing could be best of class. In fact, GLM 5.2 is #1 in design arena.
It's been so surprising to use. I'm just checking now. So I've got this software factory project called Yesod, which I want to do its own episode later. It's been really good. I've been really happy with the quality and interacting with it one-on-one. It seems to be very good at knowing when to write a script versus knowing when to just hammer through on its own imperative. And yeah, I've been very happy with it. I've been using it via OpenCode as my daily driver for basically since it came out. I swapped between that and Kimi K 2.7 code to kind of understand the cost trade-off. Now on Fireworks, maybe I should pull that up. On Fireworks, GLM 5.2 is a bit more expensive. It's not break the bank expensive. It's 50% more expensive than Kimi K 2.7, but has 4 times the context. It's a lot more expensive than Minimax. Still a hell of a lot cheaper than Opus 4.8, which is coming in at what? That's Opus 4.8 is $5 in, 15 out. at
So
AP.
yeah, what it's kind of hard to make all these apples to apples comparisons because of a few things. One is the price per token. The other is the reasoning effort, and the other is the cache hit rate, and the other is the amount of tokens per completed task. Some models are more verbose, and then the other is subscription subsidies. All of these things make it a little bit difficult to really look at, hey, is this thing the same as that, or how much more expensive? But by various calculations, GLM 5.2 with extra high, like max effort, can be pricier than Opus on medium or GPT 5.5 on medium.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is it depends on how much effort does it take to get that
Mhm,
same thing? How efficient is it? How chatty is it? And we
mhm.
talked about last episode. You could ask it to speak in caveman, and it's going to be a little bit less verbose. But if it's in Shakespearean mode, it will be very. It'll burn through a lot of tokens talking
And
about
it's reasoning
small,
effort,
right?
right? It's number of reasoning tokens.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And then that's the internal self-reflection.
Mhm.
Did I do this right? Did I do this not right? And maybe that's the downside of a quote dumber model is that it has to kind of self-correct more, which um, costs it more tokens. And so the token price may not be reflective because it's spending twice as much effort to get there. So if you double it, then you're kind of getting close to Opus 4.8 rates. So why not just use
And
Opus?
these benchmarks, I think they're interesting. I think they could be extended. Looking at how I use it in Open Symphony and with automated code review and iterations to address requested changes, I increase the token count by an order of magnitude. And so these, task completion evaluations may not fully capture technical debt, maintainability, like high quality bar things. And so that's where, maybe a more intelligent model can get it right faster, even if it reasons longer, because it doesn't need to go back and forth so many times. But GPT 5.5, extra high reasoning effort, went through 41 iterations of code review. So it's a hard thing to figure out. But yeah, so talking about GLM 5.2 is a complex topic because there's many things at play. Uh, one is open models reaching the frontier, no longer close to the frontier, but like, as I mentioned, number one on Design Arena. So it's really good at front end development, really good at design, even though it's not a multimodal model, which kind of blows my mind.
So as a quick little thing, I asked GLM 5.2 to make a timeline of the things that we're going to cover in this episode. I just said make it look nice,
Mhm.
and I put all of our links in here, and this is what it made. Like that's pretty good. I'm happy with
Mhm.
that. It gave us these nice filters. It gave us I think that's nice. Like if I would have seen that web page, that's good. Yeah, it's putting in some good effort. So I think that the key thing with these models, you have to try it out. You still have to get a good feel for it.
Mhm.
It's one thing to look at the benchmarks. You just have to try it out. See what is it good at, what is it bad at,
Yeah.
what is it not. Okay,
A
we
really
need to.
interesting thing just to finish off on this is the model subsidies, right? For some reason, when I look at OpenRouter, according to OpenRouter, according to Z.ai per OpenRouter, they don't train on your prompts, which was news to me. I was pretty sure that they did, and I'm not entirely sure that they don't. Um, but Z.ai has a subscription plan. It has gone up in price orders of magnitude in the last few revisions. So now I think I'm grandfathered in at $80 a month or so, but I think that they're charging $160 a month. That is close to a $200 a month, Claude Max plan. I think they give a lot more usage, but they're charging quite a bit for these plans. looking at a per token use, because I've been excited to use these open models on fireworks because of zero data retention, because of high performance. Um, I did some rough calculations, or GPT 5.5 did some rough calculations. I have to verify these, but according to those calculations, a fully saturated $200 a month pro plan on OpenAI ChatGPT Codex gives you 18 times more tokens per dollar than on GPT 5.5 than paying per token for GLM 5.2 on fireworks. 18 times more. And that blows my mind, because usually when you look at open models versus Frontier, OpenAI, or Anthropic models, it's inverted, where it's like 20 times cheaper for the open model.
Yeah, it's well, that's another thing that we'll be there to help you along the way, kind of advising you on token economics. But it's really hard to compare pricing, and especially with the subsidies right now. You get so much value out of the subsidy models, but of course they're encouraging stickiness, and they're good to try and differentiate as much as possible. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay, we are going to go on to the next episode just for the sake of time. This is a big personnel announcement in our. This is Noam Shazeer. He was at Google, working on Gemini. He was a big like Google spent what 2 billion to hire him,
Yeah.
and now how long he was there? Not that long, and now it just made the announcement 3 days ago. He is moving to OpenAI. That's exciting in the sense Google, for my read on it, they given the who they were, it's frustrating that they can't retain great talent. And I think that Gemini is obviously in the conversation, but it's not at the top of the conversation. So I think no, I'm reading the writing on the wall. OpenAI is at the top of the conversation. This is the Ferrari, Lamborghini, the OpenAI, Anthropic. I I don't know what was your read on this industry news here.
I mean, seeing this was, an eye opener. And then I think the day after, seeing someone else from Google DeepMind, who I think was in charge of AlphaFold,
That
uh,
was Jumper.
yeah, moved to Anthropic, made me think, hey, there's like a brain drain happening at Google DeepMind. And then, yeah, then I saw someone say, hey, it seems like some people are, disillusioned with. All right. So, I've been excited to see what Google has been doing with multimodal AI, with real time multimodal. And I would hate for that to die off because of them losing an edge. Also, I saw somewhere about them renting compute from SpaceX. I don't know what their situation is regarding their capacity, but that used to be a competitive advantage for them with their TPUs. Um, we'll see what's going to happen with DeepMind, but these last couple of days have not looked good.
Yeah, I think we have that article. I think they're paying almost $1 billion a month. Here, I'll put that on the screen now. That is an incredible amount, and people were surprised. Why would Google need to rent compute? This is. I was listening to the Elon Musk interview on the Dwarkesh podcast, and it was pretty cool. Say what you will about Elon Musk, it was pretty cool hearing his vision of data centers in space and his argument about why that's got to be the most efficient thing ever. And so, if they're focusing on data center efficiency and they can help out, well, not really. If Google can pay them $1 billion a month for that,
It's so hard for
no.
me to conceive of that amount of cash outlay, $1 billion a month.
Okay, next article. This is this is your article. So here we go. This is
Yeah.
the big deal, and let's check this out on the timeline. So the timeline of the last couple of weeks in AI has just been insane. So we have
Yeah.
Fable 5 comes out. It's really cool. Everyone's saying everything how great it is. and we have
Not everyone.
well, okay, like, it was
There's some
I mean,
backlash.
it was I think technically, like, it was cool. Like, I really enjoyed it. I hadn't touched Claude Code in a while, and it was cool to, like, use Fable 5. I thought long running was really good. Um, I was very impressed. But then a couple days later, I guess the US government pulls the punch bowl for
Yeah.
they say, okay, the US government says it can't be used by any non-US citizen. This is dangerous. This is an export control. And then a few hours later, Anthropic says no one can use it.
Yeah.
This is too dangerous. So
Well, this is really interesting, because I had been kind of compiling um, references for the backlash part of it. As I mentioned, not everyone was excited about Fable. People that worked in biotech, people that worked in cybersecurity, and people that worked in AI development had a terrible experience with Fable because of overly restrictive guardrails. And then the government came in and shut this down, which kind of highlighted two different kinds of governance challenges. This has been one of my most successful articles to date. It was like top 5 in Google for Claude Fable ban, along with Time and BBC and Anthropic. Um, what was really interesting about this was seeing those two different things juxtaposed and combined, where the restrictions imposed by a model lab and the restrictions imposed by the government, both being kind of suboptimal solutions. It has been an amazing model. The ability of that model to possibly do dangerous things is something that we're still trying to struggle with. I try to create some mental model of like what an independent organization for AI risk analysis could look like, because this is a thing that this is something we have to deal with as a society now, and leaving it up to the labs can create issues around AI sovereignty. Like, this is something that is now floating around. This is like sovereign AI. The British government asked the US for an exemption to the export ban. It's like, hey, we're buddies. Can you give us access to Fable? And they're like, nope. So then the UK is going, well, that kind of sucks. Like, we don't have control over our access to AI. Like, what does that mean?
you want to be like, oh, make it yourself. But then
Yeah, or diversify. Like, you might need to look at other options. And dovetailed with what I mentioned with Z.ai saying, we'll have Fable class model by the end of the year, means like you kind of can't leave China out of the conversation of powerful models. I also don't think that restriction is the best strategy, and neither is protectionism, because like diffusion is already going to happen. Like, China's already at frontier level. So we need to look at this as a society and go. We can't just say that, oh, Anthropic is too powerful, or open source is dangerous. Like, we already have the capabilities. They're already there. They're already coming out. They're already distributed. So what can we do about
and
it?
so, and so that's it's a really interesting philosophical question, right? Because so my perspective, I'm American, right? So we have the F-35, right? And so we sell that to U.S. allies. I think they downgrade the avionics a little bit, but for the most part, we're open with the allies. But we're not like giving the engineering documents of the F-35 to everyone in the world. That's for sure. And at the same time, if you could like rent an F-35 for $5 an hour, would we want everyone to be able to do that?
Yeah, I don't even know where I stand on that, right? So, like, I had a follow-up article to this that was not well received, and I just had zero engagement.
Here we go. I'm gonna give you one click here.
And that is like, I was looking at like, what are other models around this kind of risk and multilateral risk analysis and management. There there have been precedents for like nuclear risks with the International Atomic Energy Agency and Union of Concerned Scientists. And the thing is, like, you need inspection powers. Even if you don't have decision making authority to regulate, like, you need someone to be able to take a look at it under the hood, you know, and say, this is a real risk, or, you know, these are what the risks are. Because if you leave it up to a lab, or if you leave it up to a government, then, you know, they each have whatever ulterior motives or lack of capabilities or biases or limitations that, you know, are maybe not the best solution. And aside from, you know, wanting to protect Western democracies, which I'm not against that, I'm saying if you have a protectionism mindset where you just say we're going to, you know, control the exports, that doesn't protect you against China coming up with a Fable class model and releasing it with an MIT license or whatever, and then the whole world having access to this, which is what Anthropic has been against, you know, from the beginning, saying, you know, open is dangerous. We should be the ones who control this because we have, you know, a high standard of ethics, and I don't think that's a viable strategy. So, given that you maybe can't regulate what other countries do, um, maybe it's time to think carefully about, well, what can you do if there is open models with high capabilities? I think part of it is thinking about, like, okay, what are the specific risks? If the risks are cybersecurity, you know, how can we invest in blue team, you know, bug vulnerability patching, you know, as a preventive measure instead of saying, oh, prevent malware developers from, you know, coming up with these
Well, and I
capabilities.
think that that's
Obviously, that's harder for biological threats.
yeah.
I'm not sure what the answer is. Like, that's pretty scary to me.
Well, that's part of the whole nuclear idea. Like nuclear takes like some enormous startup cost, right? So
Mhm.
if we published like how to build nuclear bombs today, you still have to actually go out and do it. Which, you know, that there's a lot of factors that would stop people from doing that, even if they knew exactly how to do it. And so I guess AI with the cost structure is a bit different. And at the same time, we don't know us in the non top secret military world. You know, we don't know what we don't know, right? And I think about, you know, we didn't know about the SR-71 until the 90s, and it existed in the late 60s, and we
Yeah.
didn't know its full capability. We still don't know exactly every last detail about it. So
Yeah.
how do we know what we don't know in the AI? Maybe there is a I don't know, something better than Mythos 6 that can run on a Raspberry Pi level hardware with
Well,
we
one
don't know
thing that
that.
is being shared recently is apparently Mythos hacked the Pentagon or something like that. Like, all their systems were hacked, and I don't know, ostensibly in pen testing, I would imagine. Um,
Hopefully.
Fable is Mythos with the guardrails, but apparently, at least some of those guardrails can be circumvented. And there is some contention around exactly what guardrails and in what scenarios. And I can see the US government freaking out if Mythos is able to compromise their live production systems. And Fable is Mythos class, but with some guardrails, but at least some of those guardrails were shown to be circumventable. Um, that is
Yeah, yeah.
scary.
All right, we gotta keep going. We are at the there's a lot. Okay, this is an OpenAI article that you flagged, came out June 8th. So this is during Fable's heyday, way back in during Fable's heyday. Um, so this idea built to benefit everyone, our plan. I think that this is they're saying that the crux of the article is AI technology should be for everyone. Powerful systems must remain safe, aligned with human intent, subject to human control. Our mission at Open is to ensure that AGI benefits all of humanity. This means building systems that help people do more of what they choose, not systems that replace human judgment about what matters. Entirely automating everything is not the future we want. It would be unfulfilling and would be dangerous. This sentence struck me as a bit paternalistic. I was like, well, let us choose. Like, let me choose what I want to automate and what not. And I do think that humans, we've always found something else to do. right? This is the tractor. Oh, we won't be able to ride horses anymore. This is, making making electric lights, and we're not going to use candles anymore. Like this is, I think we always find something to fill the vacuum. So I don't like this judgment, this idea of like, oh, you're going to tell me that my usage of AI is unfulfilling if you make it too good. I don't think that's what they were getting at, and I think they, um, I don't know. Part of this, I think they're trying to tap in on the whole like secretive Fable government ban stuff, and trying to say, look, we're so much better, we're so much different. That's not to say that they don't believe this,
Mhm.
but there's certainly some strategy about when they released this article.
Oh, yeah, OpenAI is really good at capitalizing on Anthropic shooting themselves in the foot in the public opinion sphere. But they do have a strongly contrasting approach. And I think one of the main things here is that difference in philosophy where Anthropic's approach is this is too dangerous. We need to hand select who gets access to Mythos first. And now we're going to try a restricted version and that we're going to make more broadly available. But their main thing is kind of controlling who gets access and how they can use it. And OpenAI is saying we want this for everyone. Like we want this capability for everyone. And one of the things that I saw somebody, I think from one of the Chinese labs saying is like, one of the best ways to make a model safer is not to put in a guardrail so that it doesn't use its knowledge of something that it was trained on that was malicious, but just to not train it on something malicious in the first place. Like somehow like having the right training provenance of like, what are you training this model on?
Well, and but then even that gets into very, complex ethical topics, right? Like
Mhm.
there was great, I'll be careful with this, but there was great advances in science that came by some pretty awful people. Um,
Mhm.
and we're not going to necessarily throw away that research, but there's some people who argue about the ethics of should we use that kind of research, or should we just pretend that this never happened, or with the fact that this
Mhm.
already happened, should we use it now for humanity's benefit, even though it came from a really ugly place? And can you separate the intent of the researcher from the benefit of the actual knowledge? That's a whole other thing, which is complicated, right? And then AI might be a lot less discerning on that. So, and this all could be just marketing wanketeering anyway. They might all have top secret contracts that we don't know about, and so who knows? But
Yeah.
it's a
Interesting
good
times that
positioning.
we live in as we're exploring this collectively as a society and in business and enterprise and labs and governments. We're all kind of figuring it out as we go.
All right, next story. This is kind of interesting. Terry Tao became an evangelist for AI in math. This was from Quanta magazine, which is a pretty good, very quantitative math magazine. Terry Tao is a Fields Medal winner. He is an Australian mathematician, and he's got a very good reputation within the math community as being very accessible. Lots of people in the Hacker News thread said, "Yeah, I made this comment on this Reddit post," and he responded, and it was great. Uh, and so he's being very pro mathematics in AI. And I wanted to combine that with a post. Oh, here it is. Okay. This was the OpenAI model that has proved a conjecture in discrete geometry. Let me see.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was a couple of days earlier. I put this on the screen here. This is it. And it was interesting because the discussion on this OpenAI model disproved a conjecture